Hey, I'm Ben Fanning, and I help big CEOs launch powerful and profitable podcasts. You're going to love this inspiring and incredible interview with Nigel Travis, former CEO of Dunkin Brands, Papa John's, and former COO of Blockbuster, and chairman and co-owner of Leighton Orient Football Club, his favorite childhood soccer team.
So I got the franchisees behind it right up front. So I then went out and worked with our advertising agency, the Z Group, Zimmerman Advertising, who remain good friends of mine. And we put an ad together in less than a week. And there's this picture of John Schneider in a big chair, turning around and saying to the apprentice, "You're fired." So it was effectively taking what Donald Trump was doing it and turning it back on himself. And then we finished up with the meatball pizza, which was our new product. So it's amazing. That became legendary in marketing circles. And I think the lessons were, you have to get people behind you. And at the same time, there is a myth that you can't do things quickly. Yes. We did it. We bought all the media nationally in 2 weeks. We saw Netflix on the horizon. We kind of ignored them. They came in, offered to sell the company to us for a very low price, 50 million. We rejected it. And I'll ask your listeners to go on and look at Netflix current value. It's several billion. But the point is, you've always got to be looking for the disruptor. You've always got to be looking for the competitor around the corner. And I don't think people think actively about what's coming around the corner. I've coached, actually, it's going to sound dreadful, for 51 years. And I'm coaching my 13-year-old daughter's team. I've coached this team essentially for about 5 years. They're great. One of the things I've always done with them is I get them to use your words, Ben, to reflect. So one of the first things I will say at halftime is, "Okay, guys, how did we do?" And the power of silence. I don't say anything. How did we do? Silence. "Yeah, I don't think we played very well." So the reason for doing it, it makes them think about the lessons that we've talked about. So all these are lessons that we've gone through, but you get them to say it rather than you. And again, it requires you to be very good at how you ask them questions. It's no different from what I do at work. And silence is okay. You don't have to fill every spot. When I first came to the States, I did a study within a few months of the cost of turnover, to your point. And we found we had turnover of, I think it was 240%. And we then did a calculation of the cost of turnover. Remember, this is in '89, so a long time ago. And the cost was 42 million a year. And this was just in corporate stores. And the corporate stores were about 20% of the system. So people don't think about the cost of turnover, the cost of recruiting people, the cost of training them, the cost of replacing them, and then the lost knowledge.
Completely agree with that.
And I think it's kind of, I'm really pleased you raised it, because I think it's a lost science. I mean, it's very important when you're in companies like Dunkin and Papa John's, where turnover in those industries tends to be high. But what is interesting, people say, well, you're not going to change it. When I was at Dunkin, we had a conference for international, and one of our Baskin-Robbins franchisees in Southeast Asian country it was actually in Vietnam, managed to get the turnover down to zero. Now, everyone else in the meeting didn't believe it, so we made them present. And they did all the things which I'm sure your listeners would think are good things. They paid people appropriately. They had feedback loops. They tackled issues. They did all the right things, and they got the turnover down to zero. Wow. I'm not saying you can do that in big organizations. It proves you can really make a difference.
Hey, if you want to keep watching the world's best CEOs share their biggest secrets, make sure to subscribe to this channel and keep watching more videos. And if you're looking to build a profitable podcast for your company, make sure to reach out to me directly.